Hello everyone, how are you guys doing today? So, as many of you already know, since last June, there have been some really heavy, violent protests that are transpiring in Hong Kong right now. It's still happening up until now. Protesters, Hong Kongers, have been clashing with the police because they are protesting against this bill, this law that Hong Kong enforced that would allow China to have complete rulership over Hong Kong, have it as its own land, and have criminals from Hong Kong be locked up in mainland China. Now, I haven't been covering anything on this on my channel because I only cover stuff that concerns melanated people. But this particular story that's coming from the protest that's happening in Hong Kong, it does have something to do with melanated people, which is why I'm talking about it, and you're going to see why. You're going to see how. So the title of the article says, U.S. Senate passes Hong Kong rights bill backing protesters and angers Beijing. The U.S. Senate unanimously passed legislation on Tuesday aimed at protecting human rights in Hong Kong amid a crackdown on a pro-democracy protest movement, drawing condemnation from Beijing. Following the voice vote, the Hong Kong Human Rights and Democracy Act will go to the House of Representatives, which approved its own version last month. The two chambers will have to work out their differences before any legislation can be sent to President Donald Trump for his consideration. The people of Hong Kong see what's coming. They see the steady effort to erode the autonomy and their freedoms. Republican Senator Marco Rubio said at the start of the brief Senate debate, accusing Beijing of being behind the violence and repression in the Asian financial hub. The Senate passed a second bill, also unanimously, that would ban the export of certain crowd control munitions to Hong Kong police forces. It bans the export of items such as tear gas, pepper spray, rubber bullets, and stun guns. Under the first Senate bill, U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo would have to certify at least once a year that Hong Kong retains enough autonomy to qualify for special U.S. trading consideration that bolsters its status as a world financial center. It also would provide for sanctions against officials responsible for human rights violations in Hong Kong. There was no immediate response from the White House, which has yet to say whether Trump would approve the Hong Kong Human Rights Bill. A U.S. official said recently that no decision had been made, but the unanimous Senate vote could make a veto more difficult for the Republican president. The official, who spoke on condition of anonymity, said if the measure got to Trump's desk, there would probably be an intense debate between Trump aides worried it could undermine trade talks with China and those who believe it is time to take a stand against China on human rights and Hong Kong status. In Beijing on Wednesday, China condemned the passage of the Hong Kong Human Rights and Democracy Act and vowed strong countermeasures to safeguard its sovereignty and security. This act neglects facts and truth, applies double standards, and blatantly interferes in the Hong Kong affairs and China's other internal affairs, Foreign Ministry spokesman Geng Shuang said in a statement. It is in serious violation of international law and basic norms governing international relations. China condemns and firmly opposes it. The U.S. must immediately stop interfering in Hong Kong affairs and China's other internal affairs, or the negative consequences will boomerang on itself, Ging added. Pompeo said on Monday the United States was gravely concerned about Hong Kong's deepening unrest and violence, urging the city's government to tackle public concerns and China to honor the promises it made to maintain liberties after taking back the territory from British rule in 1997. Pompeo addresses the issue again on Tuesday before leaving the United States for a NATO meeting in Brussels. We continue to urge everyone to do this peacefully, he told reporters. There is a political resolution of this that is achievable. We hope that will be the path forward. Demonstrators are angry at what they see as Chinese meddling in the freedoms promised to Hong Kong when Britain handed it back to China. Senate aides said they expected the legislation eventually would move forward as an amendment to a massive defense bill, the National Defense Authorization Act, expected to pass Congress later this year. Demonstrators in Hong Kong have been protesting in the streets amid increasing violence and fears that Beijing will ratchet up its response to stop the civil disobedience. Following passage of the bill, Senate Democrat leader Chuck Schumer said, "We have sent a message to President Xi. Your suppression of freedom, whether in Hong Kong, in Northwest China, or in anywhere else, will not stand. You cannot be a great leader, and you cannot be a great country when you oppose freedom, when you are so brutal to the people of Hong Kong, young and old, who are protesting." Xinjiang in Northwest China is home to many mostly Muslim Uyghurs. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Large numbers of whom have been detained in what China says are vocational training centers, but which some U.S. officials have called concentration camps. And I've heard something like that before from my mom. This month, the Foreign Ministry said China has lodged stern representations with the United States about the legislation and urged that it would not be passed into law. China would inevitably take vigorous measures to firmly respond, to staunchly safeguard our sovereignty, security, and developmental interests, the ministry added. Trump prompted questions about his commitment to protecting freedoms in Hong Kong when he referred in August to the mass street protests as riots that were a matter for China to deal with. Trump has since urged China to handle the issue humanely, warning that anything bad that happened in Hong Kong could hurt talks to end a trade war between the world's two largest economies. In a post on Twitter on Wednesday, China's embassy in the United States said that democracy and human rights held so dearly by the American people are once again abused by some American politicians to justify violence and disorder. It added, "Do they want to side with the rioters?" Sad. Alright, so there you have it. You have the U.S. Passing bills and making laws to protect the citizens of Hong Kong, looking out for their human rights and making sure that China will no longer suppress them. But here's the question. Have you ever seen the U.S. passing such laws against police brutality, the disenfranchisement of black people, and all the atrocious stuff that's happening to black people? No, you do not. In fact, the only punishment that these police officers get, these corrupt police officers get for killing an innocent black person is getting fired from their former job, only to be accepted at another law enforcement job. Okay, you have black people here in the U.S. being killed innocently. Okay, not just in the streets, but in their own homes, just for playing video games and eating ice cream. Alright? And there are no laws being passed to end such atrocities against black people so-called black people here in the United States, okay? But here, you have the U.S. trying to pass laws and protect another nation of people that are not their own, okay? Stuff like this just comes to show you that the U.S. does not care about black people, okay? The U.S. is clearly showing you that they care about other people than black people, and that black lives don't matter, okay? Now notice how the mainstream media is not calling these Hong Kong rioters thugs or criminals, okay? Notice that. But whenever black people go out in the streets protesting for a meaningful person from their community who died at the hands of police brutality, a bunch of racist remarks are going to be said against them. Whenever black people are going out protesting, even if it's just a peaceful protest, they are called thugs and criminals. But not with these Hong Kong protesters, okay? Now, let's say that China passes a bill that would allow for Africa to be a part of China, okay? If all the Africans came together and protested against it, rest assured that they're definitely not going to be receiving this kind of aid that those Hong Kongers are getting, okay? The U.S. is going to leave for the African protesters to be slaughtered by the Chinese, okay? They're not going to help them at all, or even bother to know what's going on, okay? It's really disgusting, and yeah, just disgusting. And this is why every 4th of July, Memorial Day, and Veterans Day, black people shouldn't be celebrating those holidays, okay? Those which are also pagan holidays. They shouldn't be celebrating for a nation that has never, ever cared for black people, okay? Black people really need to start opening up their eyes, because the U.S. clearly just doesn't care about black lives, okay? They care more about the lives of those overseas than the lives of their own citizens who are black people, going through all kinds of atrocities and brutalities. Please let me know what you guys think about this, and I'll see you guys on the next video.